What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for June 12th, 2023. The 3.19.1 patch, we still have no idea when it's going to go live, and it has most of the fixes we need for 3.19 to be kind of fun. Tony Z, the mysterious Tony Z, is he actually coming out of hibernation and making the economy? And experimental modes are not exactly what we thought they would be, yet. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you guys. And with that, we do have a little bit to get through. It's a bit of a slow week, but let's talk about what's going on with 3.19.1. I don't know how many teams are working on these patches, but they're coming out way less frequently. We had a patch on Wednesday and a patch on Thursday. Let's start out with the Wednesday patch where they are fixing, and I'm not 100% sure if this is fixed yet. Leave a comment down below and let me know. The issue with debris blocking the entrance and exits to hangars, and they're also still working on issues with AI duplicating in insane numbers, and a few more minor issues as well. For Thursday, there was a number of ASOP fixes. Again, the .1 still isn't stable from a crash perspective yet, so seeing 3 server crash fixes is a welcome sight as well. There was also a hotfix this week that was supposed to help out with ASOP terminals on the live patch. Let me know if those are going well as well. Not a whole lot here. No clue when this patch is going live. It is essential that it is stable, and I don't think we're quite there yet. So the longer they take, the better, but this will have knock-on effects as well, most likely for our 3.20 release. And, well, honestly, I don't know how many people out there are super excited for that. We'll talk more on the fact that right now it is almost exclusively Arena Commander. So let me know, sound out down in the comments. Are you in a rush to get out 3.19.1? Are you in a rush to play 3.19? I would imagine most people are kind of waiting for something new at this point. But with that said, we did get a monthly report, and they talk about some new stuff there. As always, we start out with AI tech, and I am tired of including this. I tell you guys every week, but this is kind of going to be the theme of the report. They have AI, so they can avoid each other while driving now, as well as hazards. They're also investigating AI entering and leaving EVA. This stuff is not going to work in the PU. They don't even leave the spawn closets right now, so I'm not really, getting excited about these things. This is a Squadron 42 update that is masked as a PU update because we'll get it at some point. Ship art, another unannounced ship in gray box. This could potentially be for Alien Week. The end is near on vehicle tractor beams, still holding out for this in 3.20, but it's feeling more doubtful by the day with how long 3.19.1 is taking, right? C1 and A1 are moving along. Some of you may not remember these. They are the Cutlass competitor for Crusader. MISC Freelancer component rework is finishing up. This has taken multiple months, not really expecting this to take as long as it had. Maybe there's some more gold standard stuff going into the Freelancer. One can hope right there. And then the RSI Polaris is preparing for White Box, which is the first big ship being worked on since the Banu Merchantman delay, if I'm correct. Arena Commander features, I cut out some of the things we didn't hear on ISC last and this week. They're trying to make difficulty modes, but it was handed over to Squadron 42, another classic. The big thing here is they want to increase max server FPS, which game modes like these absolutely need, and a ton of updates to all game modes, but I'm sure we'll hear more about those. Weapon features, this is big, but it's 100% a band-aid for what we expected to have, which is, ammo stripping. This is not that. It's just going to redistribute ammo between magazines, and I love to point out these temporary fixes, and the reason why is I ask for kind of band-aid temporary fixes to make the live environment experience a lot better, and all of you guys out there in the comments or on Reddit or on Spectrum constantly point out how that's not the way things work, yet It happens all the time, case in point, right? They're also exploring radiation poisoning, seems pretty detailed and crazy. Just mostly seems like pyro stuff to me, so I don't think much about this right now, as it is probably quite far out. Gameplay features. The only thing worth pointing out here is that they want to do trash bins, so they are figuring out how they want to do it. I mean, we honestly needed a way to clean up inventories for a while, not just clean up landing zones, so I think this is a good thing. If you picked up food or drink or just have a bunch of ammo or something that for a gun that you don't really use anymore, you could just toss it out now, right? Good things there. Mission features, they are adding this dumbed down version of Siege of Orison where you steal items from the containers there. They're also refactoring a bunch of missions that are really old, and Bounty Hunting V2 seems heavily in development. Feels like something they will do in a, maybe a Citizen Con panel, something like that. And then narrative, we don't usually pull from narrative, but this is very interesting. They are talking about air traffic control in relation to cargo. So the cargo stuff is coming for sure, but there's no way to tell when that patch will be. Very, very interesting there. And yeah, just I'm excited for this initiative, but I'm concerned that it's not going to be 320. Again, sound off in the comments. What do you guys think about that? And then lastly, systemic tools and services. A ton of work for Bounty Hunter V2 from this team, but then we see it appears that Tony Z has waken up from his slumber, where every 2 years he comes out and shares a PowerPoint presentation at CitizenCon. Again, it is just a PowerPoint. That's all it has ever been up to this point, as far as we can tell, even though they've communicated that it totally tells us what the fuel prices are in game and all these other things. We do see some things with repairs in the current iteration of Star Citizen in 319, but for the most part, we're not really seeing any sort of dynamic economy or any dynamism in the game whatsoever, right? So for me, it's the proof will be when it's on my client and it's actually doing something. I do not care about another PowerPoint presentation from Tony Z. Do something. Don't tell me about something when it comes to him. It's just memes, but somebody meant to mention Quantum again, so I felt I had to share it with you. And then for video updates, we had Inside Star Citizen Arena Reborn Part 2, which was more focused on the FPS side of things. They started explaining how they fixed a number of bugs, and I think once we get it in our hands, we'll find new ones, as well as determine whether or not those bugs were fixed. This is Star Citizen after all. They say things should be fixed in their patch notes all the time, but they never are. And then they just basically gave us some news around some of the maps that maybe you haven't heard yet.
In terms of new maps, we've got a variation on a fan favorite, Echo 11. We're introducing that to Elimination. The Echo 11 is quite a big map for control. For Elimination, we've tightened it up. We've cut off access to the D room and some of A room and made it a little bit smaller so that the action can be more compact and suitable for Elimination. So last week, we showed off Security Post Korea being introduced to dogfighting maps, but we've also introduced it to FPS maps, so you'll be able to play Elimination, Control, and some of the new game mods on Korea itself.
I am supremely excited for Security Post Korea. It's a part of Star Citizen I do enjoy. Just playing in the PU and getting in quickly and just fighting there is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait for that. Possibly EVA outside of the station would be interesting. We don't really have a good sniper map yet in the game, and one of the best locations for sniping is at Security Post Korea, sniping people off pads as they're entering or exiting ships, right? So I think that would be pretty cool. And then basically, this is the moment a lot of us have been waiting for in regards to the Arena Commander update. Experimental modes.
Experimental modes are important because it allows us to get back into what the real meaning of Arena Commander used to be, which is playtesting and making sure that things that are made for the PU and Arena Commander and Squadron work the way they're meant to. It allows us to put stuff into a testing environment where we can quickly check if just something works the way we want it to, essentially.
Somewhere along the line, we lost that, and when we formed the Arena Commander feature team, we knew that Arena Commander has to stand on its own and have these flagship game modes and new things that are unique to Arena Commander, but we still want to support the persistent universe and other ventures that we go on. Experimental modes are important to us because it gets things in your hands quicker. Instead of waiting for these big, huge game modes to release, we can test things out periodically for a day, a week, a month, and get it into your hands sooner rather than later.
This is so exciting, hinting at things like possibly maybe master modes or mantle changes that we saw coming from Squadron 42, EVA changes, ladder stuff. All that stuff could potentially be in a Star Marine or an Arena Commander, right? Things like new targeting and flight models and all sorts of stuff. We can see the possibility of that being in these modes. And then they shared what we're actually getting.
The first experimental mode is single weapon elimination, so you can jump in with what will be pistols at first.
From a developer's standpoint, single weapon elimination gives us the opportunity to really test weapons that we want to get tested. It allows us to check every single part of the weapon balancing and make sure that it works just right. We know that players want to test their skill against each other, and the best way to do that is to make sure everyone's equal. So everyone gets the same weapons, everyone gets the weakest weapons in our first version, and they get to just see who's better than the other.
With 320, we're introducing pistol-only elimination, and that will be the arc-like pistol, and it's a personal favourite of mine. It adds increased time to kill, and it came originally from playing with you guys, the community. And at the end of a long session of Star Marine, someone threw out the idea of like, what, can we do like a pistol only round? And I just had so much fun with that. We ended up playing for at least another hour.
Now, I want to be really clear, pistol-only modes and any single gun modes are really exciting, fun, and enjoyable, and definitely have potential for balance, as they said. But I think a lot of us were expecting a lot more from this as they teased it for weeks. And yeah, I just expected more meat from this. And I think we will get that at some point in the future. But at some point in the future with Star Citizen is always unknown. And it could be months, weeks, years, or never. So I would say that I was quite disappointed with this one. And then the next mode should be a lot of fun.
The next experimental mode that we're working on is Gun Rush.
Now, names are temporary. They might change between now and release. But Gun Rush is where you start off with a pistol, and as you get a kill, it upgrades you.
And then with every kill, you go to the next type of gun. You go through LMGs, SMGs,
some special weapons I won't spoil,
snipers, and even the rail.
And then we've put some surprises in there for whoever gets to the last round. So Gun Rush, as the name might suggest, is super fast-paced. It lets you get your hands on many different weapons as you cycle through them and get some experience with stuff that you hadn't had. For example, I had no idea how to use shotguns. Still don't really, but I'm a little bit better at them now thanks to Gun Rush.
I think this is called Gun Game on CSGO. I played it very little. I was terrible, but it was fun. And you know what? It forced you to learn how every gun worked, from a pistol up to a sniper rifle, right? And the problem here with Star Citizen, I think, is a lot of guns look unique, but they don't really feel unique in terms of time to kill or recoil as much as a game like CSGO has, where you really have to learn those guns. Maybe a SMG to a shotgun definitely has different feel, but an SMG, LMG, and assault rifle all feel oddly similar to me, and I think that this game can really highlight that issue. It just requires somebody to actually do the work to change them, which nobody's done it so far, and this has been a problem in the game, in my opinion, for quite some time. And then they teased this one last week, but here it is.
In the next experimental mode, we're bringing ground vehicles to Arena Commander, and that is Tonk Royale.
So there's going to be 3 locations for Tonk Royale. It's going to be Hurston, Yela, and Magna. So how it works is simply we have a massive arena, we drop you in on these 3 various maps, and you just go to town. There's going to be 3 versions of Tonk Royale. First is classic elimination deathmatch, respawns, just get as high score as you can. Second is squadron battle, so you are team versus team tanks. In squadron battle, it's super exciting because you can run as just the driver, or you can join one of your teammates and be their gunner. And then the third is still being worked on. I'm not sure if it's going to be making this release, but super excited about it, is hardcore elimination. So essentially elimination, but you've only got the single life. When a Turbo Storm gets introduced to the verse, we'll be sure to add that to Tonk Royale as well.
Ah, yes. Do not forget to sell the JPEG from last week. Very important. But, you know, memes aside, I think that this will be a lot of fun. I've done this in the PU, like an organized event with Croncy and Space Tomato and Morph one time. It was a great time. And I think Aralia was there too. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. So ease of access to a mode like this is going to be fantastic. I think a lot of people are going to play it. This doesn't change my feelings from last week. These games, and they said it in this episode at some point, have to live on their own. They have to be special on their own. They cannot be a practice mode or an experimental for just for the PU, right? They have to be fun on their own. And I think this is laying a lot of the groundwork to allow them to want it to be fun. It just, again, takes a developer to actually do the work and make it fun and prioritize that work. And we haven't seen prioritization on fun in the PU as much as I think a lot of us would like it, as Squadron 42 has been a priority, so on and so forth. And you even hear them mentioning Squadron 42 in this episode, and that is scary. Now, moving on to not much happening here in Star Citizen Live. They had an episode about game dev, and it was literally just about game dev, had nothing to do with Star Citizen, and it was almost a recruitment show. It was very weird. If you guys are into that stuff, links in the description, but it is not even a Star Citizen update in my opinion. So let's move on to other updates. And as always with other updates, we start with a sneak peek. And I saw a translation on Twitter. I wish I can give credit where credit was due. I've been trying to find it and I can't. But I just scrolled through it on my feed and they said it mentioned something about getting a drink with somebody or something like that and meeting up. So I think that it's probably the Banu Cube, the new version of the Banu Cube for this year's Bar Citizens, or maybe something that's going to be handed out at CitizenCon this year, something like that. No big deal, but it is what it is, and I think people will get really excited for that. I know I have a Banu Cube for mine, and it's very exciting. Something that is very Banu, but also not very exciting, the community is actually pretty upset about this one, is the Sub-Flair. Sub-Flair are these Banu knives that are on the loot table, hard to find, but on the loot table, and they basically did subversions of them. So there's a red one, or a green one is for $10 subs, a red one for $20 subs, and blue and orange is purchasable on the website. Knives are not very useful in the game, so people are kind of disappointed by that. Alien Week, speaking of Banu, is coming. We now have a date. I think it's the 15th. It'll be a graphic up on the screen now. Fingers crossed this doesn't come with a huge event of any kind, but my expectations is they're going to try and sell the Banu Merchantman. They're going to try and make up some of their losses from the Invictus, but I don't think it's going to happen, right? The game is still not in a good state. People are kind of over the excitement that has happened over the last few months. Everything is trending down in terms of Star Citizen as of late, and I don't expect them to make a ton of money on this. People know the Banu Merchantman isn't coming. The Santokiai isn't that exciting of a ship. Maybe that unannounced ship that we saw in the monthly report is going to show up here, and maybe it is exciting. We'll have to see. But that really does it for this week's update. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. That was Week in Review. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. And leave a like, leave a comment down below on anything I may have missed or anything that we did discuss, and subscribe for more Weeks in Review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.